Welcome to this last lecture on the scope of microbiology. Here we will be discussing the different aspects of industrial microbiology, medical microbiology, agricultural microbiology, environmental microbiology and food microbiology. To start with, the industrial products that the microbes produce. They include the different drugs also, and that include antibiotics, then the production of vitamins, production of amino acids, production of enzymes, production of alcohol, and definitely the production of steroid. Antibiotics are secondary metabolites, mostly carbohydrate derivatives, and they are produced by microbe, used against microbe. But as you know, there is the production of penicillin by Penicillium, which is a fungi, and the biggest problem associated with this is the resistant strain that is being developed to these antibiotics. As for example, the recent antibiotics include the methicillin or vancomycin. In 2001, vancomycin was discovered and methicillin was discovered almost in the same year. But there will be the vancomycin resistant or methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus in 2003. Similarly, tuberculosis, which is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculei, is being treated by different drugs, different antibiotic drugs, but this is multi-drug resistant Mycobacterium tuberculei, where you cannot really apply this drug because many of these drugs are resistant. So naturally, these particular antibiotics are being produced, but the bacteria gradually become resistant to these antibiotics. So naturally, prevention become a very important proposition. Now, steroid is actually a phenanthrene molecule, and this is being produced by the bacterial membrane because the steroid molecule is embedded within the membrane in between the phospholipid molecule, which will add a dynamism to the bacterial cell membrane. Apart from steroid, you also have the natural products like the prebiotics. Now, these prebiotics are directly microorganisms which will ultimately produce some products which will help in the growth of beneficial organism in our intestine. One such product is the Saccharomyces boulardii. And this Saccharomyces boulardii, as you can see here, is an yeast species which is acting as a prebiotic which will help in the growth of the different microbes producing B vitamins in your intestine. Now, one such important secondary metabolite is produced by this organism which is Tolypocladium inflatum. It is producing a molecule which is called cyclosporin. And this cyclosporin, as you can see the structure, is actually a very important immunosuppressor drug, useful in case of organ transplant. Apart from these organisms, we also have important vaccines produced. Now, vaccines usually involve different organisms which can be whole cell, which can be inactivated whole cell, or which can be subunit vaccine. But by vaccination, we ultimately raise certain antibody which will prevent further infection in future. And vaccines are being developed against important diseases of virus like chickenpox, flu, measles, hepatitis. At the same time, it is also preventing bacterial diseases.
Sir, what is the mode of treatment of flu and why does it keep coming back?
Now, flu normally has various reasons. One important reason is the flu virus, and it cannot be treated straight away with any drug, but we have the symptomatic relief, that is paracetamol. So normally this infection comes repeatedly because the virus keeps on changing, as a result of which the strain is variant and this infection is repeated. The product of alcohol is related to microbes for a long time. It is being produced in different fermenters. The main principle, as you can see here, is the cylindrical fermenter tank having definite temperature and pressure control device, and at the same time there is the mixture containing the microorganism which will carry out the fermentation and the sugar which is acting as a substrate. There will be a continuous mechanized stirrer, and ultimately the fermented end product will be taken out from the lower tap. So this particular ethyl alcohol production or production of organic acid is a very important industrial product in the field of industrial microbiology. Apart from that, you must also understand that the fermentation product mainly include lactic acid fermentation, which is being carried out by the lactobacillus, and also the alcohol fermentation, which is being carried out by yeast, different species of yeast. And you can see in both the cases that the starting product is glucose, which will be converted to pyruvic acid by the EMP pathway, and definitely this pyruvic acid is either converted to lactic acid in the bacteria or it is converted to ethyl alcohol in case of yeast. So the starting product is same, but the ending products are different depending upon the fermentation activity of the microbes. Apart from that, there may be some other microbes which are producing important amino acids like glycine, like serine. There may be some important microbes producing vitamins, like the bifidobacterium, like the yeast, which is producing B vitamins. And there may be also some particular bacteria producing enzymes which is useful to human beings. Agricultural microbiology essentially involve increasing the fertility of the soil and growing organisms which will prevent the growth of pathogenic organisms. Agricultural microbiology will include different forms of bacteria, actinomycetes, algae, fungi and protozoa. Now bacteria, as you can see in this slide, Arthrobacter is growing in yellow colonies here and is preventing the growth of other gram-positive or gram-negative bacteria. So definitely it produces some secondary metabolite which is actually controlling the growth of other bacteria. In the same way, you can see the different colonies of Streptomyces is producing a definite inhibition zone to common bacteria. Now why they produce this? In order to reduce the competition when they are growing in the soil. In the same way, when we consider the fungi like Trichoderma, you can see in this slide, this Trichoderma is overgrowing other pathogenic fungi. So when they are growing in the rhizosphere, this competition or this antagonism will prevent the growth of pathogenic fungi in the vicinity. So it is helpful to the crop plant. And in case of algae, this pathogenicity is not there, but definitely algal biomass increasing in the soil will help in the increase in primary productivity, and at the same time will increase the biomass which may be useful for human point of view. Now coming to the protozoa, you can see the amoeba here directly is feeding on different bacteria. The bacteria entering into the amoebal cell is enclosed within the vacuole, you can see here, and then gradually the vacuole is being digested inside. So the bacteria, if it is harmful, it will be cleared from the soil. And thereby we can say sometimes amoeba also help in the removal of pathogenic bacteria. Now if we consider the importance of soil-borne microorganism, mainly the soil-borne organisms help in the increase in fertility, help in the nutrient supply, help in the biological control of other pathogenic microbe, and at the same time they help in soil formation or humus formation which will increase the water holding capacity. But above everything, they maintain the soil equilibrium or homeostasis. In environmental microbiology, we will try to find out the role of microbes in maintaining the stability of the environment, which can be by the removal of toxic pollutant. Here we call it bioremediation, and at the same time we will try to find out the different ways of solid waste management and of course wastewater treatment. So these are the different activities that the microbes play. One important activity is bioremediation. That means biological organism in the removal of complex organic molecules or removal of toxic heavy metals from the substrate. As you can see here, polyaromatic hydrocarbon, which is a complex organic persistent pollutant, is converted by microbial enzyme to relatively simpler aldehydes. So this is one of the way by which complex hydrocarbon can be rendered ineffective in the atmosphere. Now when these organisms are used in a particular bioreactor, then it looks like this. This bioreactor is a cylindrical reactor and it will be having a thermal jacket, because you know these organisms may be anaerobic in nature, so they liberate heat and thereby the temperature may increase. In order to control the temperature, this thermoregulation is mandatory. And what actually is done, the microbe along with the untreated substrate is mixed and is allowed to react inside, and thereby the effluents which are being produced is relatively simpler in nature and taken out from the bottom. So thereby a complex organic substrate can be converted to relatively simpler inorganic or organic molecules. A very important aspect that we discuss in environmental microbiology is to find out the role of microbe in water purification system. Now you know microbial treatment is commonly called the secondary treatment, and this is carried out in a common trickling filter plant. Trickling filter is following this principle. You can see here that there is a rotating distributor which allows the particular polluted water containing the organic molecule through a biofilm, and this biofilm is formed by microbial slime layer, and it can be aerobic or anaerobic in nature, but ultimately as it is coming down, the sludge is separated or the sludge is treated and thereby the water is pure. Okay. And these microbes normally remain as a biofilm in a pumice bed or in a small film on the pumice stone itself. Now this particular trickling filter will not give you water which will be suitable for usage. This particular water has to be treated further if it is containing some more acid or alkali. Neutralization is necessary, or at the same time there may be some compounds like permanganate or chlorine added to render it pure.
Sir, how can we measure the efficiency of a trickling filter?
Trickling filter is working on the basis of the microbial film on the particular pumice bed. It is very important that we maintain this film. So we have to grow these organisms in a condition like temperature, pH, in which they are maintained. So whenever water is passed, water will be freed from the pollutant and thereby the sludge can be removed. In food microbiology, we will be discussing the different aspects of food and food additives produced by microbial fermentation. One important organism you can see here is Penicillium camemberti, and this Penicillium camemberti will actually grow on the cheese and will produce a definite flavor in the cheese, and it is world famous as camembert cheese. Aspergillus oryzae, which is a common mold, and this mold can be used in the production of the famous health drink or koji. Now this particular health drink is having a mixture of soybean and polished rice. You can see in this figure that polished rice is being treated by Aspergillus oryzae and fermented to produce the rice koji. And this koji is mixed with treated and crushed soybean, and after mushing it is further fermented by yeast, and ultimately you will get the mixture of rice koji, which is called miso. So definitely this production of koji is a marvel because it has the importance of soybean which is fermented, so it is without phytanic acid, and at the same time it has the carbohydrate content of rice, so it becomes a health drink containing carbohydrate and protein. Now there may be different microbial organisms like this bifidobacterium, which are considered to be helpful organisms in our intestine, which definitely enrich our intestine with different vitamins. Coming to the next one, which is the production of xanthan gum. Now it is a polysaccharide produced by this Xanthomonas. This is how it looks when it grows on nutrient agar plate. And this is the gram-negative nature of the Xanthomonas, that is the gram-negative rods. And this is what is xanthan gum. You can see it is a pentasaccharide. It is a branched pentasaccharide having glucosyl, manosyl and glucouronyl acid residue in the proportion of 2 2:1:2. So this is a unique molecule which is used in increasing the food texture, that is, it will increase the thickness of the particular food. This is a marine brown algae called Laminaria. This Laminaria, you can see, is having a small stipe and a huge leaf-like lamina. They will produce a particular polysaccharide called alginic acid, and this alginic acid is unique in the sense it will be used in the production of comparatively thickened polysaccharide product. So it also has importance in food industry. And definitely there may be organisms like this leuconostoc, which is a bacteria represented by these yellow colonies, and you can see here the leuconostoc bacteria is having a white outer background. This white background is created by the presence of extracellular polysaccharide, which is commonly called the dextran. The three-dimensional structure having both 1,6 and 1,3 glycoside linkage, which is a branched polysaccharide commonly used in the production of synthetic cellulose. So they are also used in the production of cellulose enriched food, particularly animal feed. Now this is a bacteria called Bacillus polymixa. Here also you can see definitely there is an outer rim which is white in color, and this outer rim is having that particular extracellular polysaccharide. Polysaccharide is called levain. So levain is a very important food. It is a carbohydrate enriched food where you can see the fructofuranosyl residue. This is furanose sugar, and they are joined by 2,6 or 2,1 glycoside linkage. So it is also a branched polysaccharide useful as polysaccharide food. It is not that all the microbes are useful to us. There may be different microbes which are causing infection, and starting with this infectious virus which is commonly called enteric calciviridae. There are two major viruses. One is the norovirus and the other one is the saporovirus. They normally cause enteric infection, and which is having cholera-like infection, and sometimes the situation becomes worse with the infection of rotavirus. So these viruses, they definitely will come to the intestine and will reduce water retention. So there will be cholera-like symptoms observed. Another bacteria having similar enteric infection is Yersinia enterolytica, or this is the Vibrio cholerae. And you know this Vibrio cholerae can be of different strain, and they are named after the strains, that is 01 to 0139, and they are playing a havoc, you know, in this part of the world, causing cholera infection. And cholera infection can be because of the pili, which is the TC pili, and also the toxin, enterotoxin produced by the cholera. So there may be some strain which are only producing pili, which are attaching to the intestinal endothelium. There may be some strain which is producing the toxin. So naturally those strain will be more virulent, which will be having the pili and also producing the toxin. This is the very common Campylobacter jejuni, and this is also called Helicobacter jejuni. Helicobacter is a bacteria that causes gastric ulcer because it increases the production of gastric HCl. And you can see here definitely there has been some role in the immunogenic system, as a result of which there will be inflammation and diarrhea. And relatively, in case of human, the defense mechanism is relatively better rather than in chicken, where the defense mechanism is only involving the blood cell. So because our immune system is powerful, we can protect ourselves from Helicobacter or Campylobacter infection. Now Listeria is another important bacteria which is also pathogenic to human, and you can see it is growing on starch enriched substrate, or it is growing in polysaccharide enriched substrate, and it is clearing the particular polysaccharide when grown in synthetic medium. Now coming to a very important bacteria which is Clostridium botulinum. This Clostridium bacteria produces a toxin which is the botulin toxin. And you know this botulin toxin is having a typical wing-like projection and a central axis. This toxin will inhibit the production of neurotransmitter, and often this toxin will actually be used in a treatment which is called Botox treatment. Now in Botox treatment, what you can see here, there is the picture of the same lady. Whenever this toxin has been applied subcutaneously, the wrinkles of old age has gone. Now what is the mechanism? Basically, the neurotransmitter is not allowed to be released in the muscle. So the muscle contraction has been reduced. So the flaccidity of the muscle will ultimately reduce the wrinkles in the skin and thereby making the lady look younger. So the negative aspect of that particular bacteria is being utilized in the positive aspect in the treatment of Botox. There are some gram-negative bacteria which cause infection of the human intestine, and they include the Salmonella, Shigella and E. coli. Now Salmonella commonly cause the infection of Salmonella typhi, that is typhoid infection, which is waterborne, whereas Shigella causes typically the infection of the intestine causing diarrhea-like symptom, and the disease is called shigellosis. But the biggest problem amongst these three is the E. coli infection, and E. coli infection commonly is brought about by Escherichia coli, commonly known as coliforms, and there are different forms of E. coli infection. One is called enterohemorrhagic E. coli infection, where there will be hemorrhagic symptom from the intestine. At the same time, there may be enterotoxigenic E. coli infection, which will cause toxin production in the E. coli, and combining the two, there will be the enteropathogenic E. coli infection, which can be both, and enteroaggregative E. coli, which is also mixed infection in children, and finally enteroinvasive E. coli, where the E. coli infection of the intestine get into the inner tissue of the small intestine. The production of toxin is not only from the bacteria but also from the fungi. And one such fungal toxin is the production of fumonisin from Fusarium. And this, you can see the corn ear which is infected by this white fungi which is called Fusarium. And because of this Fusarium infection, there is a toxin produced called fumonisin. And this fumonisin will act as a cancer-inducing toxin. In the same way, this is a particular maize cob showing the infection of Aspergillus flavus. And this Aspergillus flavus will produce the aflatoxin. So anytime when you are taking the contaminated maize, there will be the chance of alpha toxin infiltration in your body, which in the long run can be having teratogenic or toxicogenic or cancer reducing effect, which can actually be treated only by prevention because there is no possible known cure.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
So how can we deactivate the mycotoxins from a food?
Primarily, mycotoxins can be deactivated by definite examination of the food, so that we have to check whether the food is having any contaminant or not. That is prevention. But if the toxin is there, then definitely by boiling the food at a certain temperature, maybe 100 degrees centigrade for at least 10 to 15 minutes, we will remove the toxin because they are thermolabile compounds. At the same time, there are recent evidence that there may be some proteolytic enzymes which can also inactivate toxin. But always I say it is prevention which is better than cure. Now, protozoan infection primarily occurs by amoeba. This amoeba infection commonly is in the small intestine, but gradually it will be converted to cyst and it will get into the liver. In the liver, they will produce typical pustule-like structure, which is commonly known as cirrhosis. Now you know this particular change is very easily understandable. You can see this is what is the picture of normal liver, and this is the liver which is actually produced by cirrhosis. Now the first step towards cirrhosis is definitely fat accumulation in the liver. We call it fatty liver. So automatically when we say that the liver is fatty because of more deposition of alcohol and other alcohol derivatives. But even if the person is not consuming alcohol, by simple infection of this particular protozoa, there may be cirrhosis-like changes. And you can see here that amoeba which is there in the blood will gradually get into the liver tissue, and this is the picture of amoeba cyst. And this amoeba cyst will invade the liver tissue and gradually will modify the hepatocytes and will induce the fibrous modification to induce cirrhosis. And whenever cirrhosis is there, there is apparently no treatment. In the long run, the person may succumb due to carcinogenic changes.
Sir, I have a question over here.
Yeah.
How is liver cirrhosis different from amoeba abscess formation?
You see, I have already told you that initially there is a possibility that amoeba cyst will be transported to liver, and it is commonly by the hepatic portal system, and definitely there will be some changes in the hepatocyte, so that will result in abscess. But you know, liver can protect itself. So normally in the long run, the liver should change itself and that particular lesion will go. But when there is repeated such infestation, then there will be some changes by which the hepatocytes will become fibrous, and that will lead to the development of cirrhosis in the liver. So once the cirrhosis has developed, then hardly it will come back to its original shape. What we can do is we can check the infection and we will allow it to stay like that for a longer period, so that the cancer at least will not develop.
Okay.
So one is irreversible, other one is reversible. In this particular lecture, what we have learnt is the different aspects of microbiology with respect to industrial microbiology, that is production of industrially important product, then the medical microbiology, production of drug and drug related molecules, agricultural microbiology, production of biofertilizer and other biopesticide. Then at the same time we have learnt about environmental microbiology, by which microbes are being employed to maintain the stability of the nature. And we have also learnt the positive and negative aspects of food microbiology, that is what are the different food and food related products that is being produced by microbes. At the same time, what are the different toxic elements or toxic composition that is being produced in human body because of this microbial infection.